The terms of Philippians 1:27 actually sort of picture huddling together as a team and as an army to rally for the common cause of the church. This is like reviewing the team battle tactics, as I've entitled this, to prepare against the real adversaries and enemies that can take us down. We're gearing up for our common goal so that the gospel can advance through us no matter what circumstances we face. And so we're going to outline 4 points about that, 4 points to help with that. 4 team battle tactics, you might say. Here's that first main point, first application takeaway. You might phrase it like this: we live together to display the gospel. We live together to display the gospel. This is Paul's exhortation to the church at Philippi as a whole. Mind you, as a whole, as a local body together, as a people, as a group that functions in meaningful relationships with each other, that testifies to a common gospel, that follows a divine standard. And this verse reminds us that we do not live as individuals who can be disconnected or estranged from involvement in a local church. Listen, to trust Christ, to follow Jesus, to be a Christian, is to join a family. It is to become a part, a functional part of a body of believers with mutually edifying and accountable fellowship. Verses like this make no sense apart from involved personal church membership. They make no sense in a disconnected Lone Ranger idea of the Christian life. It only makes sense, and you can see that in verse 27 by the mention of one Spirit, right, and one mind together. That's a bit of what we want to remember together as a team battle tactic, right, from what Paul urged the Philippians to pursue. We want to remember, number one, that we live together to display the gospel. And then secondly, we want to remember that we live together to defend the gospel. Team battle tactic number 2, we live together to defend the gospel. Because the gospel is a set of propositional truths. Right? The gospel is these theological categories and biblical propositions, biblical convictions. It must therefore be clearly and faithfully explained. It must be passed on. It must be guarded from error. But the faith of the gospel here emphasizes those truths. Right? Those truths we described earlier, that content must not only be defended, but it also must be declared. It has this serious exercise of energy and effort and clarity and conviction to defend it and to declare it. And so that's a third reminder for us as a church, a third team battle tactic. Application number 3, we live together to declare the gospel. No matter who is still alive in the future history of this church, no matter how many are gathered, wherever we are in this body, we must remember that we live together to declare the gospel. To declare this faith of the gospel. We live together, 1, to display the gospel, 2, to defend the gospel, and 3, to declare this gospel. That's what Paul is calling for here in Philippians 1:27. To display, to defend, and to declare the gospel faithfully. And if you do, when we do, we will also, fourthly, need to live together to endure for the gospel. Because we will face opposition. We will face suffering. We will face persecution. You will be slandered. You will be mistreated. You will be hurt by others and how they try to do things or respond to you. And so we must recall, fourthly, that we are to live together to endure for the gospel. This is crucial. Only conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ, standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel, in no way alarmed by your opponents. All of that applies to us today. Remember, we are not Lone Ranger Christians. We live together in the church. Those relationships are vital to our spiritual health, to our growth, to our testimony to the world. And remember, all of that life together is fueled by, is protected, is passed on by the gospel of Christ. That's central. We live together to display, to defend, to declare, and to endure for the gospel.